Welcome to the Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast, your go-to resource for navigating the world of entrepreneurship. In the world of entrepreneurship, every choice you make, from the projects you pursue to the way you allocate resources, comes with potential trade-offs. Opportunity cost is essentially about understanding what you're potentially giving up when you make one choice over another. This episode will explore how grasping this concept can lead to more informed and strategic decision-making in your entrepreneurial journey.
The Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast is your ultimate launchpad for igniting ideas and skyrocketing your entrepreneurial dreams. Tune in, buckle up, and let's unleash the entrepreneurial spirit within. Your two hosts will be Professor Gary Palin and serial entrepreneur Ryan Budden.
Hello, Professor Palin. How are we?
Doing really well. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing brilliantly. Thank you. Well, we've gotten together to discuss the topic of opportunity costs, which I think is a cool one. And I believe I was introduced to this topic in one of your classes.
That's very possible because I talk about opportunity costs quite a bit. It's something that's very common for entrepreneurs to face.
So let's start with a quick definition. The economic definition of opportunity costs is the loss of potential gains from other alternatives when an alternative is chosen. The way I like to think about it is it's the cost of the path not chosen. Instead of, when you make a decision, thinking about the resources that are going into that decision, buying a $20 handbag, the opportunity cost is that $20 could have gone to a different handbag or a watch or something else. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And very often we're faced with two decisions. We have to choose one, and both are not great outcomes. So you choose the lesser of two evils. Where opportunity cost is you have two potentially strong outcomes or more. You are forced to choose one of the better of the outcomes, or you have to anticipate what is the better of the outcome. And the loss is the opportunity cost of the second one. You don't go down that path.
The Robert Frost poem, The Path Least Taken. What happens if you went down the other path?
Sometimes I wanted to go back down the original path and go back where it started from. That's another story.
So we've covered the basics of opportunity costs. Podcast listeners are tuning in for how this relates to business opportunities. Instead of the handbag example or literally walking down a path, this is the next step in a venture. I like to think of it as the pivot points, which we've talked about quite a lot in our podcasts. When you're standing at a pivot point and you have two options for moving forwards, analyzing the end goal of each one of those options.
Let me propose a simple example that might help some individuals understand what we're talking about. Imagine a small local bakery, and they specialize in artisan bread and pastries. They have a loyal customer base. They're known for quality, handcrafted baked goods. But they're faced with a dilemma. They're seeing a shift in a needs of gluten-free products. So do they invest in that new line, or do they upgrade their existing kitchen equipment to increase their production beyond its current levels? They're limited in resources, as most businesses are, especially small businesses like in this example. Do they decide to invest in the new kitchen equipment, or do they go with the gluten-free products, which is a potential niche market that they can get a stronger grasp in? Those are dilemmas people face all the time.
That's a really good example. Another one that I like to think about is the opportunity cost of increasing the supply of one type of product versus diversifying the products that you're putting out. A shoe company, and you make a very specific running shoe, and that's selling really well. Do you double down, try and increase the market share of that one shoe, or do you also release a less specific running shoe or an everyday wear shoe?
That's where application analyzing the 80-20 rule can come into place that we discussed in a previous podcast. But you're balancing the 80-20 rule looking at history versus projection into the future. And that's where the dilemma comes into play.
That's exactly right. So the two examples we've given are fairly obvious. When anyone's making a decision, they can see the other side. A big area of opportunity cost is the hidden costs associated with it.
For example, time. Time can be an opportunity cost. And especially at the early onset, but always in running the business, you only have the same amount of hours in the day as everyone else. And you have to decide, where do I spend my time versus where do I not spend my time?
Time is immediately where my head goes in hidden costs, because it's often, as an entrepreneur, the thing that we look at the least and matters the most.
Exactly. And also energy can be an opportunity cost because you only have so much energy. You can make fun of my age right now, Ryan, if you'd like to.
Got more energy than I do a lot of days. I'll stay out of that one.
But you only have so much energy to put into issues. And also your emotional investment can be a factor with opportunity cost. So it's not just a financial decision.
We talk a lot about work-life balance because that's a struggle. It comes up in a lot of our episodes. And a huge opportunity cost for me is that time and energy and where I could spend that with my friends and family. Yes, I could make another product be successful with the time and energy in the company, and that would turn into dollars in my pocket. But I'm physically giving up the well-being of those relationships and ultimately some of my well-being to do that.
And those are very difficult decisions to make, and you want to think through them very carefully.
That's exactly right.
We're talking about opportunity costs with running the business, but even before you start the business, you have to look at the opportunity cost. Are you giving up a steady job versus starting the business? That's a major decision. With that, then comes to your personal time, and lifestyle changes will change dramatically, especially at the early launch phase. Are you eating at five-star restaurants and you're going to be eating a lot of macaroni and cheese?
Or ramen was the example when I was in college. How many packets of ramen are you going to go through?
And you look at the risk of business failure versus if you're in a fairly steady, stable type of career. Those are major decisions. Your financial security, your investments into the future, the issues with your professional network, those will be impacted, what connections you have. Many opportunity cost issues will be faced even before you launch day one.
That's a really good thing to think about, I think, especially for our podcast listeners. The opportunity costs of starting the businesses are immense because it's hard.
That's a repeat theme that we keep drawing upon. Starting and operating an entrepreneurial venture is hard.
Right.
Ryan, before we continue with today's topic, we're diving into the Janus Entrepreneurial Report. What makes this assessment so unique?
Well, Professor Palin, the Janus Entrepreneurial Report is a game changer. It's not just another test. It's a comprehensive tool that evaluates your entrepreneurial leanings. It's like having a personal coach for your career.
That's fascinating. How can someone benefit from using the Janus Entrepreneurial Report?
It's a great question. The Janus Entrepreneurial Report helps individuals identify their tendencies in terms of entrepreneurship. It's not about getting a high score. It's about gaining valuable insights to enhance your entrepreneurial skills.
So it's not just for seasoned entrepreneurs?
Exactly. Whether you're starting your own business or aiming for a leadership role in your career, the Janus Entrepreneurial Report offers actionable insights for your personal and professional growth.
Impressive. How can our listeners get started with the Janus Entrepreneurial Report?
It's easy, Professor Palin. Just visit profspirit.com and take the assessment. It's a small investment and a potentially massive return.
Well, there you have it. The Janus Entrepreneurial Report is a valuable tool for anyone looking to boost their entrepreneurial skills.
It's a game changer, and I encourage everyone to go check it out. There's a link to access the Janus Entrepreneurial Report in this episode's description as well. Another big thing for opportunity costs is tons of these decisions get made every day, and they can seem overwhelming. And I think a good practice to go through with them is some sort of journaling. So I don't necessarily mean writing that down, but keeping track of how you're making these decisions so that you can make better opportunity cost decisions in the future. I've talked a lot about the daily, weekly, monthly log that I do every day to assign myself tasks. I'm dictating a future path where I'm spending quite a lot of time. I can start keeping track of how those decisions were made and the outcomes.
Another way that you could do that if you're looking for visualization is a decision matrix, sometimes referred to as a grid analysis, where you're putting those choices on that grid or that matrix, if you will, and the visualization can help you think through which opportunity costs, which decision I should make.
Right. And then keeping track of that, right? Because the goal behind this is as we get repetitions under our belt, it's a better and better analysis, a faster analysis, a more quality analysis each time we go through that.
Other tools I like to use, for example, cost-benefit analysis is something that I continually will implement. If not formally, I'll do it informally in my mind.
Even with small decisions, you can quickly weigh that. You don't have to have the pro and con list for everything, but you can quickly tick that off in your brain.
We talked about starting in the operational issues of a business, but in specifics in the operational of a business, you can look at expanding into new markets, Are you investing in research and development, hiring and human resource decisions? Can you scale your operations? Should you scale your operations? We've mentioned diversifying into different products and services. Also, partnerships and collaborations. There are multitudes of issues such as that you'll be facing that are major decisions in driving your business, and really looking very seriously at the opportunity cost to help make those decisions are very important.
One of the biggest opportunity cost analysis I come across in my consultancy is hiring somebody. Oftentimes, the founding team who I'm typically brought on to work with is going through the process of hiring somebody. So you're giving up the hands-on every single decision being made by that team to bring someone else on, and they're going to have their own style, their own different way of doing it. And that can be very emotionally taxing. So talking about a hidden opportunity cost and a big opportunity cost financially as well.
And mistakes, especially early on, can cause the demise of a venture.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you get the one person that can sink a ship.
That goes back to the hire slow, fire fast concept.
Without a doubt. Can you think of any other areas where opportunity cost comes into impact?
I think of an example of one that had a major impact is Netflix. Because when you think of Netflix, they had a very successful DVD rental service, and they moved into their current model with streaming. And that was a major, major shift because they had a very successful business. But if you look at those that did not do that, they're gone. They've demised. People that were still trying to rent DVDs, I don't know, are there any in existence? Maybe, because everything is streamed today. So they were an early mover, and analyzing that opportunity cost early and making that decision created a very successful company to this day.
They squashed the blockbuster of the day.
Yes. Tesla did that with their early focus on electric vehicles as their sole focus. And it originally was a very niche market. You could still say it is, but it's moving towards a larger niche. That was a decision from the launch of a business.
So I'm in California for the holidays, and I will tell you, Teslas do not feel like a niche market here. They are everywhere. We've outlined a couple great scenarios here that factor into opportunity cost, how you analyze the cost of that, some hidden costs behind it, and how you can continuously make better decisions around opportunity cost. Do you have anything else to throw on top of that?
Yeah, just final remarks will be when you're looking at innovation and growth, you want to understand opportunity cost. And while doing that, you want to be flexible and adaptable. Don't be afraid to make changes based on your analysis. And also, finally, keep your exit strategy in mind with what direction you want to go as you are moving towards your exit strategy of your venture.
The highlight for me on that is the analysis. You can do research to discuss these opportunity costs, and the more research, hopefully, the clearer the decision is for you. Perfect. Let's get entrepreneurial.
Let's get entrepreneurial.
As we wrap up another episode of the Let's Get Entrepreneurial podcast, we extend our gratitude for your presence and attention. Your dedication to the entrepreneurial spirit fuels our passion for creating this podcast. Check out profspirit.com to discover resources and courses designed specifically for innovators like you. Stay on the cutting edge by following us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and other platforms as it is released. Until then, keep the entrepreneurial flame burning.